Hello everyone, my name is Lana Herrick and this is my presentation on precision agriculture. This has been the topic of my directed study for the past 3 months with Tom Bauman as my mentor. I will note that this presentation is focused more on precision agriculture and how it is implemented with crops, as this is the area of interest to me and my studies. However, these technologies can be implemented in livestock operations as well. This presentation is to familiarize you with the area of precision agriculture within the industry. To do this, I will be discussing what is precision agriculture, a basic history, the types of technology that precision agriculture includes, an in-depth look at how one of these technologies can work on a farm and what they can do for farmers and the environment, an elaboration on the benefits and challenges to implementing precision agriculture, and to conclude, I will touch on what I predict the growth of precision agriculture technologies will look like in developed and developing countries in the future, and opportunities that may arise from innovation within the industry. So, what is precision agriculture? Well, this is difficult to give a clear answer to, even though these technologies are found in countries all around the world. This is because there is no official definition for this term. However, throughout the research papers published, there seems to be a general agreement in what these technologies do and provide, and I have created my own definition from compiling these sources. So, precision agriculture could be considered the approach and use of technologies where the farmer's decision is made from information-based knowledge, and while assisting and increasing the efficiency and effectiveness of technologies already in place, thus helping to maximize profits and minimize environmental harm. As we dive into the history of precision agriculture, it is important to note that there is no specific start to it, as it is almost a natural progression by creating better, more efficient technologies throughout the industrial age. This evolution has provided us with the base of precision agriculture technology and what it is now considered to be. However, this being said, the first time that a paper specifically using the term precision agriculture was published was in 1994, and since then there has been an increased usage in the term and mentality about the benefits of using technologies on farms. The idea, implementation, and term of precision agriculture technologies had a steady but slow growth over approximately 20 years, until around 2010, when the number of papers published and the general interest and usage within the agricultural industry experienced a large increase. Which brings us to today. Many larger farms and cash crop producers often incorporate precision agriculture technologies into their production, especially those in developed countries, as the infrastructure required is more accessible. However, small farmers and those in developing countries don't implement these technologies as often, and when they do, it is usually in a more limited way. The reasons for this will be discussed later. So before I elaborate on the benefits and challenges of precision agriculture technologies, I will first tell you what exactly they include, starting with the two categories. And these are information technologies and management technologies. Information technologies, as their name suggests, focuses on collecting information for the producer, which they can then use to make their decisions with. The equipment and platforms that fall under this particular category include GPS and GIS, which are used to assess crop health and for mapping of land to make data-informed decisions. There are sensors that measure climate, soil, and nutrient variables. The picture to the left shows a sensor reading of soil moisture and temperature. An example of these sensors in livestock operations are dairy farms that have a robotic milker, and this tests the milk for things such as white blood cell count, blood, or mastitis, which informs the producer and the management technologies if the milk has to first be thrown away, and if the cow requires a further health assessment. Another example is weigh scales at livestock operations that can tell a producer what the average weight and growth of a herd or the flock is, which estimates the average selling price. And these weigh scales are typically placed near feeding areas in the ground that activates when the animal walks over them. Back to the types of technologies, we have remote sensing, which offers aerial photos for mapping and assessments of crops. There's drones that can also offer aerial photos, along with certain programs that can assess crop health. Applications on cell phones, which work with sensors and other information technologies to track and follow changes in the status quo on a regular basis and send alerts as they are programmed to. And finally, tracking of weather patterns, which is the interpretation of data and patterns to predict future scenarios. Here, I will show you a video of how the crop assessment program using drones works.
What we're going to do is we're going to sit in our office and we're going to go pull up on a computer program that it comes with. We're going to lay out a route. Where do we want this to fly? It will autopilot. We're going to take it out to the field. We're going to turn it on. We're going to hit go. It's going to take off. It's going to fly a route over the cornfield, taking pictures every 2 seconds. On the drone, it comes with an infrared camera and a visual eye camera, okay? They're both taking pictures at the same time. Now, what I can do is mesh those together is what's going to give me the shader. I can then take these images, download them into the software, and stitch it to one large picture. Anything that's going to show up as green, it's going to be a healthy crop. There's good photosynthesis. Anything that shows up on yellow, you're getting some light reflected back. You've got some bare ground. You have some stress. Red, you got a real problem. So after you take this information, you can look at it. You can go out there and spot check. Look exactly what these problems are. You can take the drone and zoom right down on top of it. Is it an insect problem? Is it water? Is it compaction? You can make a proactive plan after that to try to get ahead of the problem before it becomes a permanent yield handicap.
Okay, and now we are going to discuss management technologies. So these focus on the implementation of the decisions made and actions put forth by the data collected from information technologies. Examples of these include irrigation, which can be done through drip lines, pipes, or irrigation robots. Greenhouses offer great examples of these put in place. There's automated insect traps, which can be electrical, physical, or pheromone releasing, and are used to kill pests. We have drones that can also be a management technique and can be used in a multitude of ways, such as to plant seed or for applications of inputs. And the usage of drones allows to target smaller areas or to fly closer to the crop, which can reduce spray drift. We have management zones, which are used to determine how to apply inputs to maximize yield and crop health. Finally, there are robotic feeders for animals, harvesting, application inputs, automated tractors, and plowing. An example of how these last 4 points can be done and some of their benefits will be explained more in depth in the following example. So automated robots and how they contribute to precision agriculture implementation. As you can see on the screen here, we have a solar panel or solar powered automatic robot that is scouting the field. So the world of robotics is vast, and while it cannot be covered completely in this presentation, the versatile automated robot used on farms provides a diverse example of precision agriculture technology at work. So these robots complete a variety of tasks on the farm. Some are built for one specific job, or others are more generalized. The picture as the background here is an example of a prototype automated tractor that is a more generalized robot. It can do many different jobs because of the attachments it has available. So let's start with information technologies and how automated robots work with these. They first hold a platform to support and attach information technologies on. Often on these types of robots, they're sensors. In the last section, we said that you can test a multitude of variables. Some of these variables could be attributes of soil, such as moisture, EC, and pH, climate variables such as light and temperature. You can measure the crop health, for example, through height, leaf reflectance, and weed density, as well as the crop ripeness, which is dependent on the crop, but size and color can play a part in measuring these variables. While this can be done manually by humans, the robots can do this automatically. It can be programmed to do these testings at specific intervals, such as every 10 feet, every 10 meters, 20 meters, or it can be done if additional sensors are used when they sense a particular area of the crop is unhealthy or stressed. When these factors are identified, the robot can lower a sensor down into the soil that could measure for differences such as moisture and conductivity. This would not only update the crop information, it would create an automatic feedback and alert system if further examination of the crop is required, which is when the producer would come to physically check on that area of the crop, as robots can't completely replace us yet. This also assists in determining patterns for future decisions to identify if a problem area is reoccurring or an outlier. Other information technologies that automated robots support are ones that assist in helping to map fields and topography. However, the majority of this is often left to drones and GPS or GIS systems, as this is more effective. So automated robots also fulfill some management technologies as well. For example, the sensors on automated robots can identify when a plant is ready for harvest, as we said. In the case of the asparagus robot, they use lasers and cameras to see and harvest an individual stalk and put it into a basket. Here, I will actually show you a short video of this happening in action.
It's one of the hardest crops to automate. We've been working away steadily with the team over at Waikato with input from Alistair Scarf on the technical side to develop a proof of concept machine that could identify some asparagus that is harvestable and locate it so that we could send a robotic cutter to that position. To do that required a lot of computer vision, special sensors using like time-of-flight cameras, a whole range of algorithms that were developed. The next part of that then was actually then to look at getting cutters to those locations and actually, can you cut the asparagus? And we think we've achieved that.
Okay. So automated tractors are considered robots as they can be programmed to be driverless and work by themselves. So these tractors with the attachments, as seen in the picture, can harvest crops, apply inputs such as fertilizers and pesticides, and plow fields. And they are always being under design to become more effective and efficient and precise. So the abilities provided to the producer, these abilities provide the producer with a variety of different benefits when automatic robots are implemented. For example, the first benefit being incorporating these technologies can reduce labor, as robots can ethically work longer for humans and without breaks. These robots can be built to suit the crop or even the specific job, and less time is then wasted between actions, such as moving between different plants. Robots can also cover more land than a human can in the same amount of time, and thus any job, such as soil testing, does not take as long. Plus, robots are designed to successfully multitask. In addition to this, for the producer, it may potentially take less time to implement and get used to this new technology rather than to train a new employee or employees every season or time it is required. Precision in the field is also increased by the use of automated robots. Human error is removed from the jobs that the robot is now completing, and there is the ability for direct communication between information and management technologies. So, as I've talked about what automated robots contribute and some of the specific benefits, you may have already thought of some of the general benefits that producers and the industry gain by implementing precision agriculture technologies. I want to expand on this to not only include the producer benefits, but those to the environment and community as well. But first, let's finish up with the producer benefits. As mentioned with the automated robots, implementing precision agriculture technologies reduces the amount of human labor required. Information technologies enabled producers to determine if they are applying too much of an input, like fertilizer or water. By determining this, the producer can potentially reduce their inputs. However, it is important to note here that if they are underapplying, this would not be the case. Management technologies take this information collected about the inputs and use this to apply proper levels in a more precise manner, such as through the usage of drones to target specific areas. An additional benefit of correcting levels of inputs applied can also lead to healthier, less stressed crops, and therefore increase the crop yield. In the picture to the left here, you see an example of organic matter concentration, or productivity in different parts of the field. By potentially reducing inputs and increasing crop yield, this can actually increase the profit that a producer sees, and lower amounts of labor can reduce these costs. So with the reduction of inputs, this is where the environment actually starts to benefit. When input application is more precise and accurate, the negative side effects of over-application is reduced. The negative effects could be leaching and runoff from fertilizers and pesticides, contamination of nearby water sources, eutrophication of ponds and lakes, and potential salinification and desertification of soils. Finally, the community around the farmer also benefits from implementation of precision agriculture technologies. Their benefits is a potential increase to a healthier surrounding environment and the introduction of better infrastructure where there may be little, such as in rural locations. However, as with anything, there are also challenges and barriers to implementing precision agriculture. Some of the leading ones are cost. Likely one of the main barriers or challenges for producers to implement precision agriculture technologies around the world is the initial cost. Some of these techniques are only financially viable for larger farm producers, and the financial gain from implementing these technologies is only significant to the larger producers. It may not be enough to convince smaller producers that these technologies will be of enough benefit to them, even if they can afford the initial cost. Canada also has a high number of small farms, and small farms being less than 400 acres. So if smaller producers are less likely to implement precision agriculture technologies, as they're not able to afford some of these, this would also be a challenge to increasing the average number of producers using precision agriculture technologies. Canada and other countries, especially developing ones, have a great deal of remote areas, many of which lack the infrastructure many of us consider normal. This lack of infrastructure, such as electricity or internet connection and broad bandwidth, may also reduce a producer's ability to implement precision agriculture technologies, even if they can both afford to and want to. The picture on the slide here shows the locations in the darker gray that have better, or at least minimal, internet connectivity and availability. In these areas, producers would be better able to implement internet-dependent technologies, for example, the ones that connect to apps on the phone, or require a signal to the computer to receive their programming commands. Certain locations, such as the ones that are satellite-dependent communities, may be unable to implement these technologies at all. There is also the restricting factor of climate. This can pose a challenge, especially in Canada, as it has a wide range of temperatures, and in some places, it can quickly drop to below freezing temperatures. If the technology is physically unable to do its job because it is too hot or cold, or if the equipment cannot hold up under extreme temperature changes, it'll be unable to perform. Technology may also be unable to collect data due to its location. For example, remote sensing can be difficult on the west coast of Canada during certain times of the year, as cloud cover is common and can block sensors and cameras. This last point is about technology itself in general. There can be a challenge with the comfortability of implementing new technology into a tried and true system. Older generations may be uncomfortable implementing new technology, and the data systems and apps can be confusing. There may be a risk that the technology will be incompatible with current or future equipment, or that it will become obsolete before it covers its costs. These technologies may also require new staff that is trained specifically to run these machines, or for producers to require their current staff to receive training to run it. These can also lead to increased costs of implementation. Finally, an important point to note is that when I was speaking with a Vancouver Island small dairy farm manager, he stated that technology had greatly improved productivity on the farm. But he had 2 points. The first is that equipment is only as good as its handler. So you can't expect to implement it with very little effort and expect to receive the maximum efficiency it could provide. And second, it has led to an environment where one cannot have a separate home and work life. They are always connected to their phones, and they have to be ready to go in case an emergency comes up. If not addressed properly, this could lead to mental health issues in the industry among workers if they are always on call without a break. Before I conclude this presentation, I want to share with you what my predictions for the future of precision agriculture in developed and developing countries and beyond. In general, I believe that there will be a continued use and growth of agriculture technologies, as it is vital to the growth and development of the industry. The general public is becoming more aware and cognizant of how their food is produced and are demanding that production becomes more sustainable. This could also lead to worldwide implementation of precision agriculture for the beneficial environmental effects. Thus, there will be an increase in implementation in both developed and developing countries in the future. However, to delve into each area specifically, in developed countries, I see there being more of a steady and continued increase in the implementation in both implementation of precision agriculture. Infrastructure is more available to producers in these countries, and as technology improves and becomes more accessible and feasible to smaller producers, the benefits of precision agriculture will only increase and become more of an attractive option. In Canada, as the younger producers take over for the older generation, the openness to implement these technologies will likely increase, which will also lead to higher average implementation. The future of precision agriculture in developing countries will also likely see an increase in implementation. However, I believe that this growth will be slower. As there are many small farmers in these countries, it is less likely financially feasible for many to implement. Additionally, these areas are less likely to have access to the infrastructure that may be required for these technologies. This is where there is an opportunity, though, which is for these reasons, along with the drive to become more sustainable, it may be the driving factor behind developing more innovative technology advancements faster. Finally, if we look into the future, perhaps not even too far into it, it is plausible that these precision agriculture technologies, or some version of them, could be used in extraterrestrial terraforming. This might be the stepping stone to growing and developing a planet, like Mars, into a potential habitat for humans to live. I hope that I have helped to educate and clarify the area of precision agriculture by touching on what it is, the history, technologies considered to be under the large umbrella of the term, and the benefits and challenges. If you have any questions, you can just post them in the comments below. Okay. Mm.